people understood that there are different types of teas. There is a world of teas beyond chai. One of my, original projects was to set up a learning center for tea in India. I heard of black tea, green tea, white tea, but purple tea, and trying it for the first time was very, very unique. And even in like a family of 4, each person in the household will have their own recipe for masala chai. So it's very hard to say what is the one recipe. You can buy the best quality tea, but if you don't brew it correctly, it's going to be a waste, So I think it's very important that every time you get some good quality tea, that you learn how to brew it correctly.
Hi Snigdha, thank you so much for calling me over to your beautiful tea trunk cafe that you have over here in Goa. I think it's so aesthetically made. It's all those elements that actually kind of make up your brand. I've been using your products from tea trunk since a very long time now, and it's really nice to be able to kind of like come to the tea room now and do like a live experience of it.
I'm glad. Thank you so much for joining us.
So I would really like to know, and everyone listening also wants to know. Please tell us your journey. How did tea trunk come into place first?
Sure. So I grew up collecting teas. So friends and family, whoever would travel well, I would bring back, they would bring back tea for me as a souvenir. So I started collecting different types of teas from Assam, Darjeeling, of course, international countries also, such as South Africa, Sri Lanka, and so on.
Yeah.
And I stored them in my father's old trunk. And then decades later, when I decided to study tea professionally, I trained under a Japanese tea master.
Yes.
And my area of specialization was tea blending. And tea blending involves the understanding of the flavor wheel, which kind of herbs will blend well with which kind of spices, which kind of pasties, and so on.
Wow.
And that was my area of expertise. And then when I returned back to India, I started Tea Trunk. Actually decided to call my company Tea Trunk as a tribute to where my love of tea began, collecting teas.
Wow.
So that's a little bit of how the journey started.
Oh, that's really nice. In fact, I do know that you're like the first tea sommelier
Yes,
that
that's
was
right.
introduced to everybody.
Correct.
And I think it's such a nice thing because tea also has a language of its own. And who better to know than you, right? And I'm a regular tea drinker of all sorts. And I kind of understand once you do become a connoisseur of tea, right? You kind of start understanding that it also kind of helps you with different things, right? Some are really good for rejuvenation. Some are really good for, calming you down. Some are really good to be able to kind of, pep you up in a certain mood. So please tell me your journey with creating this tea room.
Right. So teas can do 2 things. One, they can either calm you down, have a very calming effect, or the second is a completely opposite effect, which is more energizing and refreshing. So there are teas for both these purposes. And to understand what tea you need, is also like a careful, mindful selection.
Yes.
And which is why we usually recommend different teas for different time of the day, to consume at different time of the day.
Please tell us some. I think it would be nice for everyone to know.
Right. So usually in the mornings, it's okay to have something with caffeine in it. So even if it's your regular masala chai or if it's just a black tea, tea with caffeine is a good option. But the only thing I recommend is never to have tea on an empty stomach.
Absolutely.
Because even if it's a small toast or a bite of a cookie, but anything that kind of is a complement thing along with your tea is very, very important as the first, cup of tea in the day.
Yes.
And then during breakfast or post-breakfast, I personally like to drink something light like a Darjeeling green tea or a marigold and lemongrass green tea. Because it's still morning and you really need like that energizing aspect of the tea. And then post meal, like post lunch, I would typically recommend rose oolong. So the combination of rose and oolong in Chinese medicine is described as the tea of beauty. And one of the main reasons for that is how important it is, how much it affects our digestion. So rose and oolong actually have a very gentle digestive function. So having it post meal is recommended. And then after lunch, I usually avoid teas with caffeine in them, or have teas with low caffeine, such as white tea or a lavender white tea, which will have low caffeine. And in the evening at 7 p.m., I only recommend just chamomile tea or variations of chamomile, such as chamomile mint or chamomile rose, which are completely caffeine free and can be consumed, pretty much any time of the day. But having it right before bedtime, like an hour or two before bedtime, helps you sleep better. So chamomile is known as a natural cure for insomnia.
Yes.
So I think this is just my usual tea calendar.
Wow, that's great. Actually, I really like the whole concept of you telling us that rose oolong is like a great after.
That's what I'm drinking right now.
But that's a really nice suggestion. Thank you for explaining the whole calendar of the tea. You also have introduced this new concept. I call it new because not a lot of people in India have embraced it. You have special tea time, meals and special teas, high teas to be able to kind of facilitate people's get-togethers, right?
Yeah.
We all know that it's a British concept, right? And then now we're slowly bringing it here. In fact, I think you're one of the first people who's actually done this in such a nice, beautiful way. And because we're in the heart of Goa, you've got it so well with kind of also introducing Goan delicacies.
Correct.
Right? Please tell us about how and how it came along, the whole concept of the high tea.
So we're sitting at India's first tea experience center right here in Panjim, and this is a 100-year-old house which was turned into a cafe and tea room for people to come and experience teas like it should be. So you get a choice of hot teas, iced teas, and also different kinds of high tea experiences. So we have a signature high tea which is actually what we laid out for you today.
Thank you.
So it's a selection of sandwiches and delicate desserts and treats that pair well with tea. And our most popular high tea is actually our Goan Portuguese high tea, which is actually an assortment of traditional snacks such as the rishois, the fish cones, forminas, and different very specific cakes that are
local, traditional.
Absolutely. And for this, we've actually partnered with home bakers in Panjim. So these are Goan aunties who are making these for us. So it's as authentic as it can get from their homes.
That's really nice. That's really nice.
So
it's got the collaborative empowerment zone as well.
Absolutely. While this is India's first tea experience center, we also see this as a very community project for us. Tea Trunk was started in Goa. We've been in Goa for the last 10 years as a business, and how we integrate and interact with our community here is also very important to us.
Yes, wow, that's really nice. Thank you for that input as well, because I feel like a place like Goa also does benefit from having a very intricate community, because then it's very nice to be able to also reach out to people when you would like to kind of get some help or also understand something, right?
Absolutely true.
So Snigdha, tell me, you've got you've got the flourishing brand going on, you've got your tea room ready now, right? And then it's also a very nice concept of the high tea. What's your near future plan like? What's the next step with the whole brand?
So one of the things, while Tea Trunk has become a household tea brand in India, we're also looking at how we can reach tea lovers globally. So through our website we ship to about 15 different countries, but how do we make our teas more accessible to our international audiences is something that we've been working on. So different markets outside India is where we've been exploring tea partnerships to start with. And one of my original projects was to set up a learning center for tea in India.
That's fantastic.
I studied tea, I didn't find an opportunity to study tea in India. None existed back then.
Yes.
So over the last several years, and especially during the pandemic, we started hosting these master classes, which became educational, informational workshops for people to learn about teas, both from a health perspective and also from a taste and flavor and blending perspective. So I'd like to see what we can do more for our master classes, and it can also help us reach, audiences not just in India but globally.
I think that's a fantastic idea. I was actually going to ask you that, when you did begin, which was a couple of years ago, right? And not a lot of people would be very open with the concept, or they wouldn't even understand what is the job of a tea sommelier, right? How did you navigate that? Like, probably from friends, family, or anybody around you when you introduced this whole concept that I'm going to take our heritage tea of our country to another level and kind of actually educate people about it. What was your reaction like when you were going through that?
I think even today the idea of a wine sommelier is very new. So, talking about a tea sommelier is like a little far out.
Yeah.
But I think people understood that there are different types of teas. There is a world of teas beyond chai.
Yeah.
And I think that has happened in the last 10 years. When I started back in 2010, when I came back to India after studying tea, green tea was not so easily accessible in supermarkets, but today they are. So I think that openness to experiment and try different kinds of teas is happening, and I think on that same path, the know-how or understanding of what a tea sommelier does or can do has also, that awareness has come about in the last couple of, I would say, years or even a decade.
Yeah, because I always see this, that I actually used to tell my friends this, because I'm a very contagious, I would really like to call it contagious because I've taught other people how to do it. I'm a very contagious tea drinker, and I take it very seriously. It's a very serious art for me, right? Even preparing the tea.
Wonderful. We need more people like you.
Yes, and you. Yes. But when you travel abroad and you go to all these different countries, and even in our own country, in fact, right? We get so many cafes with emphasizing on coffee, and they'll just be like, there'll be this dominant market that a beverage like coffee has created, right?
Yeah.
But when you go and check out anything for tea, it's still not that.
Correct.
It's not that large yet, yeah. So I think that's also something which I would kind of want to see in our country also, right?
Absolutely.
That more and more people like us who are avid tea drinkers to be able to kind of foster that thing, and which is not just, you can't just go and get some very fancy coffee somewhere, but you can actually spend some time and actually educate yourself, learn and indulge in good forms of tea as well.
Yeah, so at the tea room we keep it open for people to come and learn about teas and experience, and we do tasting flights for people to try different types of teas. Like everyone knows black tea and green tea, but there's white tea, there's blue tea, and there's oolong tea, and that experience is the space where people can come and try this out.
Yes. Which one is your favorite?
I think my favorites keep changing with every season.
The current season.
Yeah. It's my current seasonal, especially during the monsoons, is the kava. So I really like the saffron kava that we do, which has real chunks of like sweet almonds, like crushed almonds, cardamom, ginger, cinnamon. And because kava can be very warming for your body, we add a touch of rose petals to it. Because rose petals, as traditionally gulkan, it's known to cool down your digestive system. So adding a touch of rose petals to kava just makes it, an all-weather tea, irrespective of where you are in the country.
Wow, yeah, it's like a mini cup of Kashmir.
Yeah, it's super indulgent, and I think in the rains I quite like having saffron kava. But just because we're here chatting after lunch, I'm having some rose oolong tea today.
Yes, you did mention that before.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to try out the rose oolong from this. I love the suggestion, so I'm definitely going to try that out.
Thank you.
So this is your signature special high tea that you've created for me. Please explain it.
So as a part of our signature high tea, we try and do desserts that pair well with the teas, and especially as a part of the construct of high tea, there are finger sandwiches. So we have cucumber and hummus as a sandwich that we did for you today. There's also bell peppers and pesto, and a very traditional coleslaw sandwich that we do.
Okay.
We have some canapes here with apricots. So that's also just adding natural sweetness and no added sugar to that.
Okay.
And what we have here is an almond butter dark chocolate mousse.
Okay.
So it's super healthy.
I'm already excited.
And it has a touch of orange to it. So it's like a chocolate orange almond, which is like a very classic combination. My favorite on the platter today are these Earl Grey tea cookies.
Yeah.
So it's a lemon, kind of a very delicately flavored with lemon, but infused with Earl Grey tea.
Yeah.
So when you bite into it, you get these crunchy bits of the Earl Grey tea, and that's a very unique dessert, and it's one of our best sellers at the tea trunk tea rooms. I definitely wanted you to try it. Everything that we've done today is eggless and naturally sweetened, so that it's, we cater to different lifestyles and cater to different nutrition requirements. Our signature high tea can be customized for people who are visiting us, and which is why we recommend that you pre-book it at least a day in advance, so we're able to make a lot of seasonal recommendations also. Like we've done the canopies with apricots today, but we will do them with berries or so on, to just keep it very seasonal also.
Wow, this looks lovely. I can't wait to dig in. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Most welcome.
I want to do this one section where you can explain. So for people who Snigdha, a lot of people don't really know what Earl Grey tea is.
Mm-hmm.
So can you explain? And for me personally, I love it. Mm-hmm. So please explain what actually is the Earl Grey tea.
So Earl Grey tea is a very classic black tea. So while it's a black tea, it is infused with bergamot. So bergamot belongs to the citrus family, like it belongs to the family of lemons and oranges, but it's a very unique kind of a flavor. So the black tea is very delicately flavored with bergamot and bergamot oil, and you don't see the ingredients, you don't see the orange peel or lemon peel in it, but it's just an infused flavor. And it has, because it's black tea, people assume that it can be had with milk, but Earl Grey tea traditionally is not meant to be had with milk, because it's like drinking lemon green tea with milk, because it's the citrus family. So even though many places serve milk on the side with Earl Grey tea, it's not recommended to be had with milk.
Fantastic. Thank you for that information.
Welcome.
So Snigdha, we're going to do a very quick rapid fire with you.
Sure.
Okay. So the first question is, what is one of the most memorable things that you've eaten and it's always stayed with you?
I think I had a bunch of ants, and I think this was actually a delicacy, and it has this like citrus flavor to it, and I think that was one of the most memorable things that I had.
Really?
And while you're eating ants, it does have it was quite flavorful, and I wasn't expecting it, so I think that's definitely a memorable thing I've had.
Wow, that was a shocker actually. Okay, that's really nice, interesting. Okay, fine. So tell me, what's one of the most exquisite teas that you've had a chance to try or experience?
So purple tea. So there's actually tea which appears like purple in color in terms of leaf, and this comes from like Africa. And this I tried for the very first time. So I mean, of course I've heard of black tea, green tea, white tea, but purple tea, and trying it for the first time was very unique. And it's a function of what the soil conditions are, what the minerals are present in the soil, and the leaf, the Camellia sinensis leaf, actually turns like a light purplish hue. Dark purple hue, and then that is produced into tea, and that was one of the most exquisite teas I've ever had.
Wow, and what are the notes like when you try it? What's the taste like?
It's quite earthy because it's a very mineral rich tea, so it's a very earthy, minerally kind of a flavor.
Wow, that's really nice. We got a blue tea, but now thank you for the introduction to the purple tea.
Yes.
Okay. So if you could have a high tea with somebody that you use as an inspiration, or anybody who's famous or successful, right? Who would that person be, living or dead?
Oh, definitely Ruskin Bond. I'm a huge Ruskin Bond fan, and I think it'll be really nice to have him over for tea.
He'll kind of be very picturesque as well.
Yeah.
Kind of fits very well with the kind of style that he writes with also.
Yeah, the kind of stories that he writes, and very leisurely time I'd hope to spend together.
Oh, wow, nice. Okay. So what is one travel destination that you haven't been to but would like to visit soon?
Actually, there are so many in India. Before I can think of international destinations, like I still haven't been to Leh and Ladakh, and I think that's very high on my list right now.
Oh, that's nice. Yes, yes. Okay. If you had to be a part of a TV channel or TV show, right? Which one would it be?
I didn't think of this.
It's okay.
I think.
Or your favorite one? What's your favorite? What's been one of your recent favorite shows that you've liked or
I usually my television watching is reality, like cooking shows.
I enjoy them as well.
Yeah, and I think I've been watching like Drink Masters, which is about making different kinds of cocktails. I think I would like to be one of the contestants on Drink Masters to come up with using these same flavor combination understanding that I have for tea to see what I could do with cocktails. I think that would be very exciting for me.
That is amazing. I love the fact that you mentioned it because it was one of the shows which I saw. And you started with thinking you don't know what you're going to get into, but then I was addicted to it and the way that they would create those drinks,
And so many different flavor pairings that you would never imagine.
It'd actually be perfect for you. That'll actually be a perfect pairing for you to be able to be a part of.
Yes.
Okay, great. What is one emoji that you use all the time?
So I use this medal emoji a lot.
Okay.
Instead of giving somebody a thumbs up, I usually end up like distributing these medals. So that's like my favorite emoji.
Wow, that's nice. I'm going to use that actually. Instead of giving a thumbs up, that's a really nice idea.
Please do.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. And lastly, tell me that, for all the entrepreneurs, tea lovers, or actually who are listening, right? Is there any message that you would like to give the tea lovers?
Sure, I think you can buy the best quality tea, but if you don't brew it correctly, it's going to be a waste, So I think it's very important that every time you get some good quality tea that you learn how to brew it correctly, because different teas require different water temperature, different brewing time, and it's usually mentioned. So especially at Tea Trunk, whenever you buy Tea Trunk tea, you will find the brewing card inside with the tea sommelier's note. And I think it's very important that people pay attention to that and brew the teas. Otherwise, it may be the best quality tea, but you may not experience it really well.
Oh, that's a nice one. One leaving note for all the masala chai drinkers of the Indian community, right? What's the best way to brew it?
Actually, there is no one recipe for masala chai. In our country, there are as many recipes for masala chai. Even in like a family of 4, each person in the household will have their own recipe for masala chai. So it's very hard to say what is the one recipe. But I think what I'd like to add is, people who are consuming masala chai should ideally be in the first half of the day and limit the amount to like 1 to 2 cups of tea, and preferably without sugar, because sugar does not really add much to the flavor of the chai. So I think these are some key takeaways for masala chai lovers.
Lovely. Thank you so much. It's been amazing having this chat with you. Thank you for being so lovely and inviting me over to this beautiful place. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Most welcome.